She had no law degree, she had no powerful background, she was just a single mother struggling to raise 3 children. But one day she challenged a billion-dollar company and changed thousands of people's lives. This is the true story of Erin Brockovich. Erin was never the kind of person who stayed quiet. When someone treated her unfairly, she always fought back. Many people judged her because of her appearance and her outspoken personality. Her co-workers thought she was too emotional and difficult to work with, but what they didn't know was that behind her strong personality was a woman carrying unimaginable pressure. After being abandoned by 2 husbands, Erin had to raise her 3 children alone. Every day was a battle. Bills continued to pile up, responsibilities never ended, and there were moments when she wondered how much longer she could keep going. But no matter how difficult life became, Erin refused to give up. She finally found a job at a small law firm. Although she wasn't a lawyer, she worked harder than anyone else. However, her confidence and direct personality often created conflicts with the people around her. One evening after work, Erin rushed to pick up her children from the babysitter, but when she arrived, nobody answered the door. A terrible feeling immediately came over her. She quickly returned home and discovered that her children were safe in the neighbor's yard. The babysitter had sent them home without telling her. Luckily, a young neighbor named George had noticed what happened and helped take care of them. Erin was surprised. She never expected someone who seemed carefree to be so patient and kind. George even offered to help watch the children whenever she needed support. But Erin wasn't used to accepting kindness from others. She had spent years depending only on herself. Still, she slowly realized that George genuinely wanted to help. The next day, Erin returned to work. While organizing documents late at night, she noticed something strange. Inside a property settlement file, she discovered several medical records. The documents clearly did not belong there. Most people would have ignored the mistake. But Erin had a different instinct. She felt there was something hidden behind those papers. She decided to investigate. Erin asked her boss for permission to look into the case. Although he didn't think it was important, he eventually allowed her to continue soon after. Erin visited the homeowner involved in the file. Her name was Donna. After listening carefully to Donna's story, Erin realized something was wrong. Donna's family had experienced serious health problems for years, and the more Erin looked into the situation, the more suspicious it became. She discovered that a nearby power company had been connected to the community for years. Residents had been told everything was safe. The company even provided medical checks for local families, but Erin started questioning the real reason behind those actions. Was the company truly trying to help people, or were they simply trying to avoid responsibility? Erin knew she needed evidence, so she contacted an expert to understand what was really happening. The expert explained that while some forms of chromium could be useful, another type called hexavalent chromium could create serious health risks after long-term exposure. At that moment, Erin realized this was much bigger than a simple paperwork mistake. She had discovered a hidden problem affecting an entire community, and now she was about to enter a battle against a powerful corporation. To prove the truth, Erin began searching through official records. She spent countless hours reviewing documents from different departments. Finally, she found information that changed everything. The evidence suggested that the company had known about the problem for years. Families in the area had been living with a risk they didn't fully understand. Erin quickly shared the information with the expert and returned to her office. But when she arrived, something shocking happened. Her desk was empty. Her belongings had been packed away. She asked her co-workers what happened. Then she learned the truth. Because she had been away investigating the case, her boss believed she had abandoned her job. The misunderstanding ended with Erin losing the position she desperately needed. After finally finding a way to support her family, she was unemployed again. With 3 children depending on her and endless bills waiting at home, Erin felt completely defeated. The woman who always appeared strong finally reached her breaking point. But just when everything seemed hopeless, her former boss came looking for her. This time, his attitude was completely different. He had spoken with the expert and realized he had misunderstood Erin. He came to apologize, but he also came because he knew Erin might have uncovered something important if her evidence was correct. Their small law firm could help hundreds of families. Erin agreed to return, but she had one condition. If they wanted her help, they had to hire her back. She needed the job, and she needed a chance to finish what she started. After returning to the law firm, Erin immediately went back to Donna's home. She needed to tell Donna the truth. The company had not been completely honest with the residents. The substance they had been exposed to was far more dangerous than they had been told. Donna was shocked for years. She believed the water was safe. But now everything started to make sense. She quickly called her children away from the water. At that moment, Erin realized this case was no longer just about compensation. It was about protecting families who had been ignored for years. The legal battle officially began. After receiving the lawyer's notice, the company reacted quickly. Representatives came to the law firm and tried to settle the matter privately. Instead of admitting any wrongdoing, they offered to purchase Donna's property. They wanted to end the problem as quietly as possible. But for a family that had already suffered for years, the offer was meaningless. The negotiation ended without an agreement. Then the company showed its real advantage. They were not a small business. They had enormous financial resources. They could afford expensive lawyers. They could delay the case for years. They believed a small law firm would eventually give up. Even Erin's boss understood how difficult the fight would be. The difference in power between the two sides was overwhelming. But then, another family came forward. They lived near Donna and had experienced similar problems. At first, they believed everything that happened to their family was simply bad luck. But after hearing Donna's story, they started questioning the truth. Their pets had developed serious health issues. Their family members had suffered years of unexplained problems. And they were not the only ones. The more Erin investigated, the more families she discovered. She realized Donna's story was only the beginning. Many people in the community were facing the same situation. Seeing those families struggle gave Erin a new reason to fight. She wasn't just collecting information anymore. She was fighting for real people, especially as a mother herself. Erin couldn't accept seeing children affected by something they never chose. She decided she would take the company to court. But the bigger the case became, the more pressure her own team faced. The investigation required expensive experts, detailed research, and countless resources. For a small law firm, the cost was becoming overwhelming. Her boss started to worry. He wondered whether they were taking on a fight they could never win. But Erin refused to walk away. She knew this was not just another legal case. Behind every document was a family waiting for answers. She didn't have a traditional legal education. She didn't have years of courtroom experience, but she understood one simple thing. Doing the right thing sometimes required someone willing to take a risk. Her determination convinced her boss to continue. Now they needed stronger evidence. Erin returned to the records department and searched through old documents. After hours of research, she discovered an important report from decades earlier. The document revealed that the situation was much larger than they originally believed. More families could be affected, and the potential settlement could become much bigger. This discovery finally convinced her boss. They officially decided to move forward with the case. Erin returned to the community and began gathering information from every family involved. Unlike lawyers who only studied documents, Erin went directly to the people. She listened to their experiences. She remembered their names. She learned about their families. To Erin, every person mattered. She also collected important evidence connected to the facility. Every detail could determine the outcome of the case, but her investigation soon attracted attention. The company realized Erin was becoming a serious threat. Not long after, she began receiving pressure to stop. They wanted her to leave the case alone. They even tried to make her worry about her children. But instead of stepping back, Erin became even more determined. George was concerned about her safety. He wanted her to understand the risks she was taking, but Erin knew something important. If she gave up now, the families who trusted her would lose their chance. With her honesty and persistence, Erin slowly gained the community's trust. People who were afraid to speak finally started sharing their stories. Eventually, she collected hundreds of statements from residents. The evidence continued growing. The case was becoming stronger. But before they could officially move forward, every person involved needed to sign legal agreements. At first, everything seemed simple until residents learned how the payment arrangement worked. If the case succeeded, the law firm would receive a percentage of the final settlement. Some families felt uncomfortable with the agreement. They wondered why lawyers should receive such a large amount. The situation became tense. Erin understood their concerns. She also thought the arrangement sounded unfair at first. But then she realized something. If the families received nothing, the lawyers would receive nothing too. The law firm was also taking a risk. They were investing time, money, and effort without knowing whether they would succeed. Erin explained that both sides were fighting for the same goal. Slowly, the residents understood. One by one, they signed the agreements. The case was finally moving forward. Although Erin had gathered strong evidence, the company still refused to give up. They returned to the negotiation table and made another offer. To many people, the number sounded huge, but Erin knew the truth. When divided among hundreds of families, it was nowhere near enough. These people were not fighting to become rich. They were fighting because they wanted their families to live without fear. They wanted their children to grow up safely. They wanted someone to admit that what happened to them mattered. Erin rejected the offer. She knew no amount of money could erase what those families had experienced. But at the same time, Erin's personal life was falling apart. She had spent almost all of her time working on the case. While she was fighting for others, she slowly lost connection with the people closest to her. When she returned home one night, she found George packing his things. The room was silent. The gift he had prepared for her was still there. They were supposed to celebrate the progress of the case, but over time, work had taken over everything. They had stopped talking. They had stopped understanding each other. In the end, they realized their relationship could no longer continue. The next day, Erin had no choice but to bring her children to work. For a long time, her children didn't understand why their mother was always busy. They wondered why she couldn't spend more time with them. But as they saw the documents and heard the stories behind them, they finally began to understand their mother wasn't ignoring them. She was fighting for people who had no one else. That small moment gave Erin the strength to continue. Meanwhile, the case entered an even more difficult stage. Because the lawsuit had become too large, Erin's small law firm decided to work with a much bigger legal team. But the new lawyers immediately underestimated her. They questioned her methods. They doubted her ability. To them, Erin was just someone without a law degree. They didn't understand why she was so important to the case. Then Erin showed them why. When they asked about the people involved, she knew every detail. She remembered their names. She remembered their families. She remembered their struggles. While others only saw numbers on documents, Erin saw real human beings. That was the difference. She didn't just collect evidence. She built trust. Soon, the residents made their decision clear. They trusted Erin. They believed in the person who had listened to them from the beginning. With the trial approaching, there was one final challenge. Many people still needed to complete the paperwork. Only a few days remained. Erin worked day and night searching for everyone who had not signed. She was exhausted, but she refused to stop. Finally, she obtained the last agreement needed for the case. Just when everything seemed complete, a man approached Erin with important information. At first, she was unsure whether to believe him, but then he revealed something shocking. When he worked at the facility, he had seen important documents being destroyed. He had stayed silent for years, but after losing someone close to him, he decided the truth needed to come out. The information he provided became the final piece of evidence that night. Erin returned to the office carrying documents that could change everything. The lawyers who once doubted her were speechless. They finally understood that the woman they underestimated had become the key person in the entire case. After years of fighting, the truth could no longer be ignored. The company was forced to accept responsibility. The final settlement reached $333 million. It became one of the largest environmental settlements in American history. For the families involved, the result was not just about money. It was about being heard. It was about finally receiving recognition. When Erin and Donna saw the result they had fought so hard for, they hugged and cried. At that moment, Erin found something she had almost lost: her confidence, her dignity, and her belief that one person could create change. Her boss later received recognition for the case. But there was still one final misunderstanding. The bonus Erin had been promised became a disagreement. She wasn't angry because of the money. She was hurt because she wanted her effort to be respected. After everything she had done, she wanted to know that her contribution mattered. But then her boss revealed that he had actually increased the amount. He wanted Erin to understand that her work was worth more than she realized. Looking back at Erin's journey, one lesson becomes clear. Success is not always about having the best education. It is not always about having the strongest background. Sometimes, success comes from the courage to stand up when everyone else chooses silence. Erin Brockovich was not the most experienced person in the courtroom. She was not the most powerful person in the room, but she had something even more important. She cared, she listened, and she refused to give up, because sometimes the greatest strength a person can have is the courage to fight for what is right.